Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got Bet David? Valuetainment, giving value's contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to haters. How they run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
All right, so we've missed this thing called PBD Podcast, man. We haven't done it for a minute. We had a crazy event this last week. I think it's fair to say it was the sickest vault conference ever. Tom Brady, Mike Tyson, in the middle of the interview saying, hey, do we have some time? I said, yeah, why? I got to use the restroom. First time ever. He walks out. The after party made no sense. It was craziness. We had to shut down the Intercoastal, making sure cops didn't show up, leaving at 3 o'clock in the morning with plans of what we're going to be doing next year. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady's interview. Some of the questions that were asked was very interesting. Belichick, was the seventh ring more to win, have one more than Belichick, or to have one more than Michael? Your thoughts are what? You're thinking what?
I'm thinking he's going after Belichick, his former coach. I don't think it's MJ. I think he respects the hell out of MJ.
I think he wants to be the greatest of all
like
time.
The greatest of the greatest, as he wants to be.
Well, listen, guys,
he was careful to
because Bill Russell had 10 championships. So if that's really what his aspirations are, he needs to play 4 more years in the NFL.
Listen,
there's one more above that too. He tried very hard to be Switzerland in his answer, and he was really selling it, saying, I cared about the current one. I cared about what I was doing right then. I cared about the game I was playing right now. Really tried to be Switzerland.
But I think eventually, Rob, if you can go to Twitter to show the painting that we gave him at the end as a gift.
That was sick. You saw the Daily Mail pick the story
Yeah,
up?
Daily Mail. Matter of fact, just go to Daily Mail.
Shout out to the Daily Mail, Vinny.
Daily Mail.
I love it.
Tom Brady. Yeah.
What's an article? By the way, he wasn't that happy when he found out I was a Giants fan.
Although I didn't.
Just letting you guys
watch
know.
this. So
he didn't post that vid.
So we got him this. Tom Brady is left stunned by massive painting of his career highlights as a future Hall of Fame replaced on Mount Rushmore by Lionel Messi, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods. Check this out. Go lower. That was intentional, by the way. We wanted 4 names on Mount Rushmore. Click on it.
There's PBD.
Yeah, I know
Click
that
on
guy.
Go a little bit. Just press play on that. I don't know if they have the painting in there as a picture. If they don't, so
right
we're
there.
There's a couple. There's a couple wide shots.
That's the Mount Rushmore right there. It's him,
so bad.
Tiger, Messi, and Jordan. Okay, on the Mount Rushmore. We had him as a kid wearing Joe Montana's jersey, throwing the ball. We had him at the draft. It was awesome giving him the gift because, this is a guy like we grew. You're saying this is your guy.
This is my guy.
Kobe's my guy. We grew up. When you're a fan and you watch a guy's career, you're going through it. Anyways, I'm so glad he liked it. We had a great event. And for those that were there, you know what I'm talking about. I'm telling you, wait till you hear what we're doing for next year. And we're going to announce Vault 2024 sooner rather than later. We had senators at the place. We had the weirdest people at the place, ranging from regular businesses to doing $500 million a year. It was a great event. Can't wait to do it again.
The audience, like the actual caliber of people that were there, you heard from everybody. They were like, wow, like even the people that buying like the cheap seats kind of thing, which aren't that cheap. They're like, wow, the caliber of people were here. And then everyone, the CEOs to the executive, to the, what is it, the general, they were like, shout out to the sales team up there. They're like, these guys,
the whole staff
are just completely on the ball.
But Adam, it didn't matter who was. If they're dealing with you, if they're dealing with Vinny, if they're dealing with anybody. And by the way, let's not forget Will Guidara. Will Guidara cursed me out. He cursed me out. Will, you used some bad words against me, man. I don't appreciate it. And I'm just joking.
He was said, great. A lot of people were like, I was shocked by that.
I told everybody, wait till it ends. Will could end up being your favorite speaker. Will crushed it.
He was. By the way,
11 Madison,
Pat,
shout out to him making a comeback.
He's an operator that's been there. He's been to the mountain. He set his goal. He got to the top of the mountain and just
ran a #1 restaurant, 3 Michelin stars.
Put his flag on the top of the mountain. Did a great job.
Back to Brady for a second. What did you learn about Brady that you just had no idea before? Like, for instance, when we were back, dude, he's tossing the football to Dylan and Tico. Pat ran a post across the middle, caught it.
All of you guys caught it.
The Assyrian Randy Moss over here. Here's what I'll tell people. He's actually taller than you think he was.
God.
The guy is tall as
you're a legit 6'4". He's at least 2 inches taller.
No, he's tall, man.
He's
I mean,
6'6",
obviously with the
legit.
shoes, and
slimmer.
Remember, cleats are an inch and a half, too.
Right.
Rob, can you pull up the video?
And not to be controversial, better looking than I thought in person. Looks like a statue.
I shook his
wax
hand.
figure.
Yo, I shook his hand.
Yeah.
My eyes were where his zipper was.
And what'd you do about it? What'd you do about it?
I was just like, this
you
is
helped
amazing.
him out?
He's the GOAT.
Help the guy out, bro.
He's the GOAT.
Listen, I don't think that guy needs any help with that
Single
area.
now, Vinny. He needs all the help he can get.
No, by the way,
Vinny saved that for Adam's podcast.
It was actually, you know, there was a part of it that was emotional. There was a part of watching him, you know, talking about what he was talking about. He went on fire talking about Drew Henson. I mean, that whole story, he had to tell the details of it.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is it. By the way, NFL Combine, if you guys are watching, I run a
5.54. Yeah, I don't.
Go ahead and press it, Rob. I'll take a 1 day contract for $10,000. Watch this. I even switch. I had the quarterback go. Watch this.
Can't believe you did it in your suit.
You're gonna run a post to go on the other
Look
side.
at this.
Smart
Look
man.
at this.
With red bottom shoes, by the way.
Look at it. With red bottom shoes.
With red bottoms.
Almost ran into the wall, but
Did you almost like? And you're on a carpet, dude. That's no joke.
Across the middle. Where you at, Tico? Wow. What's up, guy? Good catch, though. You can't drop that.
the guy was
Great catch.
He just comes in. He goes like this. He says, "Hey, so PBD, is Daddy gonna run a route?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll run a route." Dylan runs. Go ahead, press that right there. Dylan goes. And he says, "Hut." Watch this. He says, "We got to go back 5 yards." Let me see that iPad, Kelly. Thank you.
Thanks, Cal.
And then he does it again. That's how technical this guy was.
Yeah, he doesn't play.
He's messing with an 8-year-old. You're like, nah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Dylan. Nah.
Look at Dilly. And
Billy boy.
But Senna didn't want to run a route. She wants to be a princess. She wants to be a cheerleader.
She wants to be a baker.
Senna's a girly girl.
She's a baker.
Full blown. Anyways, we had a great time. Wish you were there.
Oh, Tico.
Even Tico caught it.
And Pat, yeah, this is the Vault drink. Everybody and their mother was drinking. This was the like launch, technically, like everybody there was drinking it.
Wow, we'll do a full-blown launch.
Full-blown
but the Vault
launch,
drink, we've been drinking for a few months just to fully before we do that. So anyways, every podcast you're going to see is going to be sponsored by the Vault drink.
Nice.
So when you see this
Vinny had
everywhere,
8 a day. This guy
you'll
was
learn more.
wired.
Okay.
Fire.
All right, let's go into a lot of stories. Number one, 3 different people. Others claimed that they could be assassinated. One, Tucker claimed Trump's about to be assassinated. Russian propagandist said Tucker's about to be assassinated. And Elon Musk's father said, the way Elon is going, he's worried about Elon being assassinated, all in the same news cycle. Tucker made a few crazy claims about Barack Obama and what he did with, gay sex and crack. And he said some other things about what's going on there. We'll cover that one maybe here in a minute. Trump waives arraignment, pleads not guilty in the Georgia case. DeSantis team denies Trump rumor that he'll drop out of the race. DeSantis super PAC, urgent plea to donors. We need $50 million. Then you got Trump world sees Haley surging towards DeSantis. Biographer says it wouldn't be a total shock if Biden drops out. Gavin Newsom making some big moves. We'll talk about that here in a minute. FAUCI, Vinny's got an update for us with FAUCI. Roasted as fraud and liar after being confronted in damning study on masks. What else we got here? Resilient U.S. economy defies expectation. Kevin O'Leary warns chaos is about to begin for U.S. economy. Wake up and smell the roses. Why youth unemployment and surging in China. BMW, Mercedes launching biggest EV push yet to catch Tesla. All income brackets now living paycheck to paycheck. And we talked about Musk. Musk said some things about his daughter. Blames elite LA school for brainwashing communist trans daughter into hating him for being rich. By the way, this school is $50,000 a year per kid. And then Wall Street Journal story, which is kind of emotional and sentimental. They've been friends for 60 years. Lou and Bobby have figured out what most men don't. 4 out of 10 men today don't have a best friend. If you don't have a best friend, we will be your best friend here on PBD Podcast. We're also looking for best friends.
We'll send Vinny to your house.
Harvard happiness expert says there are 3 types of friendship. Here's why you need them all. We'll cover all of that. Anyways, okay, let's go into some economy here. Tom. Kevin O'Leary warns chaos is about to begin for U.S. economy. Wake up and smell the roses. This is a Fox Business story. Kevin O'Leary, chairman of O'Leary Ventures and Shark Tank star, cautions that the U.S. economy is on the brink of chaos due to Biden administration policy, saying the month of September is going to be chaotic for the economy. He highlights the disparity in government aid, stating we've given nothing to small businesses. O'Leary warns of the impact of small business from rising interest rates, noting Fed is raising rates up to 5.5% in a matter of months. O'Leary expresses concerns for small businesses, access to financing, stating if you're in the S&P 500, you have no trouble financing your business. You can't say that about small businesses anymore. The cost of capital has gone through the roof. He predicts a reduction in regional banks from 4,100 to 2,000. That's 50%, leading to a public worry about deposits and stating you're only guaranteed $250,000. O'Leary urges support for small businesses, recommending an extension of the employee retention credit, saying wake up to the importance of small businesses, providing 60% of jobs in America. Tom, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, there's a couple of things with Kevin O'Leary. And I'm going to take three of them. Self-interest, Chicken Little, and the truth. So I feel like Karnak. Remember Johnny Carson, Karnak the Magnificent, would say three things and then answer them. So let's start with, Chicken Little. The sky is falling. There's things about that happening in the economy, and that's very, very true. Very true what's going on. But the second part he talks about is the employee retention credit. He's been involved and he's been pimping for. He does all these commercials for that. So he wants extension of the employee retention credit, and he's running a service bureau, PBD, that makes him money as the spokesman. So this is not the first time, like FTX, where Kevin O'Leary's been a spokesperson that seems to have colored his public comments. But the one thing he's talking about, he's right on the truth part on the economy. So setting aside from Chicken Little grabbing headlines, setting aside from he's actually as a service bureau and getting paid on the employee retention credit, there's a little conflict of interest there. He's right about the economy and small business. Credit cards are at $1 trillion. Job growth is actually slowing. Interest rates are for houses, even for good credit, around 8% now for a 30-year fixed. And the housing sales is slow, not coming back. And he's right. When those interest rates are up there, can you imagine what it's like for a small business person if it's an 8% mortgage? And a mortgage, member, is backed up with a collateral called the house. Well, small business people walking in are looking at 10, 11, and 12% loans right now from banks. So he's right about that. And we already know about the commercial real estate that's going to be pinching the regional banks, and the big banks are just going to buy them up for discounted big stacks of commercial real estate. So he's right about that. And I think that what we're seeing here is inflation still being stubborn at about 3.5%. We're going to get another quarter point in one of the two upcoming meetings of the Fed, which means that the interest rates aren't going to go down anytime soon. So there's a lot of truth in what he's saying is that the end of Q3 and going into holiday season, I'd like to know, and I'm waiting with bated breath to see what Black Friday is going to look like with credit cards already at $1 trillion. I feel like the consumer is running out of gas, and he's right. Those consumers who are running small businesses got to fund their own stuff too.
I like you gave sort of a spectrum of where he is. You called it the Chicken Little, then you called it the what?
Self-interest.
Self-interest, bingo. And what's the third one?
And the third one is the truth, because there's truth in these stats.
Truth. I went right to number 2 because the self-interest side of things. There's a business model for this. I would call these are like the financial shock jocks, the doomsday preppers of finance, is that they are motivated not to be prognosticators or what you call Johnny Carsons back in the day. What do you call them?
Well, I was saying when I said three things, it's like Karnak. Karnak Magnificent used to say, three things and then give you three answers that were funny.
I just needed the Karnak. Thanks, bud. But basically, he's predicting the downfall of the economy. So if that is the case, Kevin O'Leary, put your money where your mouth is, sir. Do the Michael Burry thing. Go ahead and short the market. Do the big short. Because anyone can just go out there and be like, the sky is falling.
I love that.
The sky is falling. And basically prey on people to buy your products. What's the product you said he's selling?
Employee retention credits. He's a spokesperson for.
There you go.
Have you got your employee retention credit yet?
The reason I respect someone like Michael Burry on this podcast is because he called it in 2008, put his money where his mouth is, did The Big Short, did a movie, and did it now again.
Hundreds of $1 million worth.
Exactly. So unless you're that dude that is actually going to be like, the economy's going downward, there's going to be in a recession, and you put your money and you short the market, shut your freaking mouth. And I respect Kevin O'Leary, but anyone could just, the economy's this, the recession's this. It's like, the reality is nobody actually knows. Nobody actually knows. So unless you put your money where your mouth is, it's all just hot air. And that's what I'm saying. I wish, there's my last point, I wish there was some accountability for people who are these financial shock jocks, doomsday preppers of finance, that we circle back and be like, hey, Kevin, you said the economy was going to tank. It's actually up 20% this year. What do you say about that? Like, where's that?
We would all be part of that camp, by the way, just so you know. We would be part of that camp. We've talked about what could happen to the market, to the economy. But you know what it is? A part of it, for what you're saying with Michael Burry, there's a reason why Michael has that kind of respect to short the market. You have a very good point there. Tom, when it comes on to next story here, all income brackets now living paycheck to paycheck. A study shows, we're not talking like just minimum wage. This article's talking about all income brackets now living paycheck to paycheck. Study done by Lending Club Bank finds that inflation, mortgage rates over 7%, credit card APR above 20% have led all income brackets to live paycheck to paycheck. In July 2023, 61% of U.S. consumers live paycheck to paycheck, up 2 percentage points from July 2022. The shares of low-income consumers living this way rose from 74% in July of 2022 to 78%. Among those earning $50,000 to $100,000 annually, 65% live paycheck to paycheck. In July, up from 63%. High-income consumers earning more than $100,000 annually saw a small increase, rising from 43% to 44%. Study reveals that regardless of income, Americans need their next paycheck to cover monthly expenses due to rising consumer goods, good costs, and living expenses. Higher interest rates have increased credit debt. To break the cycle, downsizing housing, negotiating bills, automating savings, and using high-yield savings accounts are recommended. Let me read that last part again. To break the cycle, downsizing housing, negotiating bills, automating savings, and using high-yield savings accounts are recommended. If this is reading correctly, Tom, this would validate that eventually if people run out of savings and they're tapping into their credit cards, we're about to see this. Now, obviously, the average person looks at the market and says, what? What are you guys talking about? There's nothing going on. Market's doing good. Market's doing great. Bidenomics is crushing it. You know, maybe better than Reaganomics, any of that stuff. What would you say to those people?
I would say the S&P 500 and the stock market index has got nothing to do with helping middle-class America pay their bills. And what you're seeing here, we've been talking about it, the middle class is getting crushed. And you look at the lower part of the middle class there, now 78%, almost 80% of that lower band is living paycheck to paycheck. And almost 2/3 of the next band are living paycheck to paycheck. We've been talking about it. The middle class is getting crushed. Commodities like eggs and gasoline have come down. Everything else has stayed up. These people are using credit cards to do it. And suddenly we've got like the statement you just read. Hey, if you need to break the cycle, downsize housing. Sell your current house to who? No one's buying. The interest rates are too high for the next person.
That's the point.
Negotiate your bills. Negotiate with who? The credit cards are getting maxed out. Automate your savings. How can you save when you're using the credit card to make up for the inflation pinch on your common expenses? And use high yield savings account. Well, that's nice. You've got nothing to save. How do you put it in there? The middle class is getting crushed, and the inflation effect on those two bands has been cataclysmic.
And well, mind you guys, Pat, you guys have, done pretty well for yourselves. I'm in that between 50 to 100,000, and I'm feeling it and seeing it from every single thing. Pat, just going to the Publix, just going to the local supermarket now. I've never in my life looked at prices, Tom, on the shelf and out loud been like, are you serious? And other people in the aisles are like, teaming up going, I'm starting random conversations with people.
And they're not coming down.
And they're not.
Eggs did, but
everything else, Tom, is not. And it's like, you guys, because I think it was live on this podcast, Adam, where the White House, remember the recession, the 2 quarters of negative growth? Well, they live changed the definition. It's like, at what point do we admit it's messed up and just come out and say, like, Tom, we're living in it right now, and how much is it going to affect the election? Because, I mean, that's the average American, and that's me, and I'm feeling it.
I'll give you this. You know how Tom gave 3 different things? I'm going to give you 2 different things because you always highlight that the PBD podcast is different from the Soscast audience. So I'll give 2 different messages over here. So some to the younger single dudes out there, and then those to the families out there, because those are different categories. Because I don't want to get ripped a new one from PBD when I tell people you can just Uber rather than having a car payment for $1,000.
Folks, brace for impact.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So
let them eat cake, says Adam.
For if you're young and you don't have a family and you're just a young hustler guy or girl out there, the key to life in America these days is having low overhead and high flexibility. Keep your costs low and your flexibility high. You don't know what the hell's around the corner. Andy Grove once said, only the paranoid survive. Whether Kevin O'Leary is right or wrong, or Michael Burry or Warren Buffett who thinks the economy is strong, no one knows. What you can do to control your own pocketbook and your own financial security is keep your head on a swivel, see what's going on, and that also just stay the course as far as your financial situation. What I would also say is those that have families, those that can't necessarily have that high level of flexibility and the low overhead, because you are maybe fixed in on a house, you can't sell it. You can downsize on cars. That's not what I'm recommending specifically. But there is something going on in America today. And it's very interesting because, Andrew Tate highlighted it when we spoke with him. It's this sense of rugged individualism that America is founded on, being an individual, but also juxtaposed with a sense of family. If you remember, Tate told that story about the 7 Muslim brothers that all lived in the same house.
Yep.
And they pooled their resources, and they all lived together, and they worked together, and they were all driving fancy cars and doing fancy things because they didn't have 7 different rents to pay. So for those people out there, I do understand why you want to be an individual.
So you're saying take 3 families and live together in a house?
I'm just saying there is a lack of the whether you call it the nuclear family or the familial unit. Like, I know that you want to buy 3 different lots of your properties right next to you and have your dad there, your sister there, your family there, and all that. You also very highlight the Asian family in your community. I am saying that if you do have kids and you do have family, they don't need to necessarily rush to get their own apartment and move out to college and pay rent over here. And have a car over here.
Don't kick your kids out.
I'm just saying that the family unit is the strongest thing we have in America. And
very interesting.
But we have this sense of like, oh, you're 18, get the hell out of the house. I would recommend that young people who are 18 stay in the house, save rent, lower bills, keep the family unit.
Did you talk to Tico and Dylan? Is this what's prompting?
Yeah, they're going to be there till they're 30. There it is.
Yeah,
but they can have girls over, but the doors must remain open. I'm sorry, Pat.
Yeah,
it's the way it works, especially Santa, homie.
Yeah,
it's not happening.
Brother.
No one goes on the second floor. Go ahead.
No, but Pat, like, think about it, Adam. In my 40s, single, but whatever. Like, when I'm telling you, it's feeling it right. And mind you, I don't spend money on crazy stuff. I have a freaking Toyota Corolla, Pat. But the gas, the rent, it's getting insane. Like, I've been looking at the numbers. It's getting really bad.
I'll add one more thing. Everyone's like, oh my God, what, 63% paycheck to paycheck? What's the exact number? 65%? By the way, it was the same thing 10 years ago. When I started doing financial content, two out of 3 people are living paycheck to paycheck. That was under Obama. That was under Trump. Welcome to America. This is nothing new. Yes, inflation's higher. Wages have gone up a little bit. This is America. People are overspending. They're not saving. For the last 10 years since I've been doing financial content, 50% of Americans own investments, own stocks. It has not changed. So your habits need to change because America's not changing.
It's an evergreen message that is continuous to be given, and it's very necessary to be given. I'm glad you're making that adjustment. So I think if I want to unpack what I took away from what you said.
Yes, sir.
Parents, 3 families combine and live together. Consider the religion of Muslim. Is kind of like where you were going with that.
Breaking news, I'm converting to Islam. A Jew is converting to Islam
That's the feeling
just to save that money. That's it. That's what I'm willing to do, guys.
Can I take the last word real quick?
Go for it,
Go to the
please.
next one. 10 years ago, what was the population of America? What's the population of America now? When the government steps in to bridge this and give people relief checks, it's a bigger check for our grandchildren. And I'm just going to leave it right there.
Boom.
Because the population and the number of people that are in these things is tens of millions greater. So it is a bigger problem when you get a socialist president that says we're going to print money, bail you out, and pass it down to the grandchildren.
Okay, let's go to the next story. Next story, should we go to the youth unemployment in China? I think we talked about that, right?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, let's go to Elon Musk blames elite schools for brainwashing communist trans daughter into hating him for being rich. By the way, these types of stories, you have no idea what this does to me when I read these types of stories. Oh my God.
What page?
Just
17. Go to page 17. Here we go. Here we go. Elon Musk attributes his daughter, Jenna Wilson's distancing from him to her school's influence, stating she went beyond socialism to being a full-on communist and thinking that anyone rich is evil. He discloses the rift is deeply painful, comparing it to the loss of his first child, and laments, I've made many overtures, but she doesn't want to spend time with me. Musk reveals that in April 2022, Wilson's transformation into a fervent Marxist led to a breakdown in their relationship. He emphasizes her desire to disassociate from him by changing her name and gender, and adds she doesn't want to have anything to do with me. Musk singles out Crossroads School for Arts and Science. Can you pull up the school real quick? Crossroads School and Arts and Sciences as a contributing factor, indicating I partly blame the school for her ideological shift. He draws a parallel between the school's influence and his perception of Twitter, which he purchased later to defend free speech and counter suppression. Tom, you're a father of two daughters. What do you think about the story?
She will be back on the long walk to the middle. Trust me. She will be back. This reminds me of the young girl who ended up in a viral Twitter pic. She's sitting in an airport with a MacBook Air, expensive sneakers, holding a $7 Starbucks with a big sticker on her MacBook. Capitalism sucks, yet capitalism built everything that was in the picture with her. You remember that?
Yep.
And I feel this is the same thing. Whatever was in that girl's head is what's in Elon Musk's daughter's head. You've got these, $60,000 a year liberal teachers that think all rich people are bad, and so they're out there telling these stories about it because, I don't know, they think there's a money tree and the government's just going to give you universal basic income and all the things you want, including a MacBook Air, nice sneakers, and a Starbucks. As a father, you have to be active in your kids and you have to tell them two things: why and when. And I work a lot with my daughters on this, is the why and the when. Why are things like this, and when did it start? And let them go see the facts. I've always said that I want my daughters to have two abilities. One is to reason and the other is to resist. And if I tell them why and when and present them facts, and I'm big on processing, Pat was an influence on me on processing. I was even more focused on processing the last 5 years as things have sped up, Pat. But I want my kids to be able to reason and resist because I tell them why things started, when they started, so they can go look it up in history for themselves. Otherwise, they're going to be sitting in a classroom like this and getting bombarded. My kids are going to sit back and go, no, wait a minute. What are you saying there? When did that start? Why did that start? What are you talking about? And they're going to be asking that. They're not going to be saying, oh, you're messed up. I love my dad and you're full of crap. No, they're going to reason right back at it.
Why do you think, you said that, don't worry, she'll be back, like in the moderate lane? Why are you so convinced of that?
On the long walk to the middle.
Yeah.
She's going to come back.
Why do you say that?
She's going to discover a desolate life and minimum wage existence unless she stumbles into some, wealthy artist. Whoops, I almost went into Hunter Biden land there. And can go live her life. She's going to come back to dad and realize when she's 30 years old, she's going to come back and she's going to say, I'm sorry. And she may still have her liberal viewpoints, but there's going to be a reconciliation. And I call that the long walk to the middle. You go way to the left and you slowly slide back to the middle, and suddenly you find your father's not so crazy. And I call that the long walk back to the middle from her point of extremism now, which has no consequence because she's a student. She's being supported. There's all these things she doesn't have to worry about. You know what I mean, Adam? You probably see these people in a city like Miami, a few of the fringe.
Yeah. By the way, check this out. You know this? Were you going to make a point?
I was going to
there she is.
I don't know if that's actually her though. But
no, that's not her. That's the girl.
Yeah.
That's the viral picture I was talking about.
So I don't know if I agree with you, Tom, and here's why. Pat always says, "Who's in your ear? Who's in your ear? Who's in your ear?" Clearly, she has the wrong people in her ear. And then you said, "All right, maybe she walks it back by age 30." That's 20 years from now. It's 15 years from now. She will be so far gone down that rabbit hole of the LGBT wokeness.
Plus Q.
She'll throw the Q and the pi sign and a parentheses and an asterisk in there.
Yeah.
She'll throw it all in there. And it might take a decade or two for her to come back. One of the things I love about what Pat says is when you're young, you idolize your parents Then you grow to villainize your parents. She's clearly in the villainization phase. And at some point, maybe age 30, she'll begin to humanize them. But by age 30, she might have gone through a transgender reassignment surgery, whatever. I don't know what what they are, but I think she may be too far gone. And this goes back to the private school thing. It's so ironic that you're paying $50,000 a year for these private schools for your kid to end up like this. And the most ironic part of that is any family that can afford $50,000 a year for their family, they are capitalists. In order to afford a school like that, you have to be making money. You have to believe in free markets. You have to believe in capitalism, free market capitalism. So the ironic part is that the kid will then get indoctrinated to Marxism.
Why put your kids in a school like that? But you know what I do like? Were you going to say something?
I was going to say, Pat, like this, what people don't realize is this is a regional thing. You know where Crossroads is, right, Pat? This is
Santa Monica.
This is California, right? Yeah. Just like all the
Breitbart wrote a book on this school 18 years ago.
I know people that have.
You know, kids. This is a school that had menage a prom. Like you go to school with threes. Yeah. And is this what you were going to say?
Exactly what you're saying. It's regional. It's Bill Maher was on Joe Rogan a couple days ago, Pat, and that's one of the things he said. He's like, it's regional in the sense that you go to a dinner in California, Pat. If there's 10 people at the dinner, 75% of those kids are trans. It's all where they're at, Pat. And it's
they have a cross-dressing day.
Bill Maher
school has a cross-dressing day, apparently. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, according to this book written 18 years
Pat,
ago.
I'll tee it up for you. You've highlighted the increase in the identifying as the LGBT community. I think 20% of Gen Z identifies as this. It's doubled in the last decade.
You were about to say something.
No. What I was going to say is I love that you're saying she's going to come back to the middle, but I also love the fact that you're saying she may never come back to the middle and you may lose her for decades. The reason why both ideas need to be entertained as a parent is for the parent to know. So think about it this way. What's the longest you and I went? Think about your best friend, okay? Or one of your best friends, okay? Or a sibling. Okay, what's the longest you went, you, your father, your mother, your best friend, your sibling, what's the longest you went without talking to that person? Well, you guys had a falling out. What was the timeline? Just pick, don't give a name who it is, but what's the longest you went without talking to the two person?
Well, I'll tell
5
you,
months.
I didn't talk
5 months, okay.
I didn't talk to my dad for a few years. We had a very contentious relationship, years.
What's yours?
3 years.
Okay, what's yours?
With my brother, like maybe 2 months, 3 months.
Okay, perfect.
Crazy.
Okay, so sometimes it happens with friends, and you have a friend, and you have a falling out, you don't talk for a month. Sometimes 6 months. Sometimes 12 months. Sometimes it's just like, look, man, we grew apart. Mm-hmm. Just we don't have the same thing. But a falling out is different than grown apart, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Imagine the next time you have a 15-year-old daughter. The next time you're able to have a friendly dinner with her is when she's 35.
It's crazy.
God.
Okay.
Lifetime.
You are 45 years old. You are not going to have another dinner with your daughter till you're 65 years old. Let's do basic math. One day, my dad is at the house, and I'm spending a Sunday with him. In LA, he used to just, Texas, he used to only come once a month, and sometimes once every other month. So once a month, he would come and he would say 3 days. And I had to have a Sunday with him. I'm looking at my dad sitting right there by the couch. And one day I just take a paper and pen and I calculate how many days I have left with him. Okay? Not days he's going to live, days I'm going to be around him. Okay? Then I did that with my kids. And I said, how many Christmases are we going to have together? How many more days are these guys going to be in my house together? Watching these guys running around doing all this stuff, right? And then after 18, it's gone, right? It's just period gone. You spend 18 years with them, and then when they leave, you're going to spend God knows how many times, or maybe 2 years in the rest of your life. I cannot even imagine going 20 years with not having a good relation with my daughter. By the way, it's happening to a lot of people because a few different reasons. One, parents don't have the ability to put them in a Christian private school. Do you know right now, every Christian private school here, so when we first moved to Florida, it was open. Like, there was not a waiting list. Mm-hmm. Today, you can't get in.
Why? Because the demand?
Supply and demand.
Wow. Let me put it to you this way. Christian private schools have so many applications right now, they can't take more people.
Wow.
They don't have a problem with inventory right now. Their problem is we don't have room, we don't have teachers, we don't have space. So even some parents that want to put their kids in private, like I'm a millionaire, we understand. So is everybody else that's trying to put their kids into school. We don't have any room right now, okay? That always tells you how much parents are worried about putting their kids in public schools today, how concerning it is. But this whole dialogue exchange between Tom and Adam, I believe both ideas need to be entertained by every parent and not just assume they're going to come back, assume they are going to come back. But if you're 45 years old, you got 40 more years to live, you lose 20 of the years of spending time with your kids, that's a quarter of your lifetime, and that's 50% of whatever you have left. You best be entertaining and monitoring who your kids are talking to, who's in their ears by communicating with them regularly. If you're not involved in their day-to-day lives, this is how they get lost. The more you talk to them and you say, hey, what did you learn today? Who were you talking to? Who's your best friend? What teacher? What did this teacher say? Parent-teacher conference. Actually go like the other day, I went to the parent-teacher conference, and guess what I'm looking for when I watch these teachers? I'm just watching and see how weird they are. So, that's all I'm looking for.
I feel you.
I'm like, okay, yeah, she's fine. Okay, yeah. He's music. Yeah, he's little, but it's cool. He's fine.
Okay.
This one, okay. And then I walk out with the music teacher. So tell me about your family. I got married, 2 kids, 30 years. Oh, great. That's great. How about you? You have to take inventory to ask the questions to learn, so it's not like a risky situation. No matter how much you do, there's still risks. Because if somebody wants to do something, they can still do it. Yeah. But you got to do your part. Anyways, good commentary.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
The difference between basically when we were growing up in the 80s, 90s, what have you, versus today, is that if you had a fallout with a friend or your dad or your mom or whatever, you come back, 2, 3, 5, 10 years later, you're a grown up, you're the same person, you've matured. Now when you come back, you might literally be a different sex. You leave as a daughter and hey, my son's here. You leave as a son, my daughter's here. That is the biggest concern today. It's not even just ideological family fighting. It is now full-on gender reassignment. You're a completely different human, not just a grown-up version of yourself.
Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, go ahead.
And besides the family sense of it with, father, son, and she's transformation. She's a fervent Marxist, which I've been hearing that they're teaching that hardcore in all these liberal schools. Pat, well, we fail to understand. Those kids grow up. These are privileged kids. They're the ones that are going to be going into Congress and Senate, and that's why all the problems that we're seeing is as these people's attitudes are turning the country into they want to be communists. You know what I mean?
No, I was nodding in agreement with Pat, and just
okay.
I've got nothing further to add.
By the way,
where are we going here?
Just so the fact that you're hearing this story, any minute now, in the next 30 minutes, we can have Billy Bush, who is the family brewing distilling company and had an heir to the Anheuser-Busch multi-billion-dollar fortune. He'll be joining us in a few minutes here to discuss what happened with Dylan Mulvaney. I just got a couple questions for him. We'll spend 50 minutes with him and we'll get back to
very ironic
story. So yeah, that's exactly why I brought it up. So Fauci, let's talk about Fauci. Fauci roasted as fraud and liar after being confronted by damning study on masks. So
how odd.
Oh, weird.
Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this on Fauci. What he's doing this time.
Flip-flop Fauci.
Okay, so Dr. Anthony Fauci faced backlash on social media after admitting on CNN that his studies showed masks had limited impact on the overall course of the COVID-19 pandemic. While acknowledging weaker data for pandemic-wide effect, Fauci maintained that individual-level studies indicated masks could offer some protection. Critics, including Senator Rand Paul and commentators, seized on Fauci's statement, labeling him a fraud and a liar. They highlighted the apparent inconsistency of his stance, masks working individually but not on a larger scale, leading to accusations of deception and mistrust. Fauci's shifting mask guidance during the pandemic also fueled controversy. He initially downplayed mask effectiveness due to shortages, later endorsing them as supplies increased. Vinny.
Well, first, I've been calling him flip-flop Fauci for the longest time. It's like, okay, he's retired. Am I right, Rob? He's finished. He's not even supposed to be. It's just weird that now that all the stuff that we're hearing about...
Is this the clip, by the way?
This is the clip. And Pat, do me a favor while he plays this. Look at how creepy this guy's eyes are on the left. But look at Fauci, a retired guy, but they keep bullying him out whenever something about
Let's see what
COVID
he says.
comes out.
Brett Stevens in The Times talked about Cochrane. Put that on the screen. The most rigorous and comprehensive analysis of scientific studies conducted on the efficacy of masks for reducing the spread of respiratory illness, including COVID-19, was published last month. Its conclusions, said Tom Jefferson, the Oxford epidemiologist who is the lead author, were unambiguous. There is just no evidence that masks, make any difference, he told the journalist Mayan Demasi, full stop. But wait, hold on. What about the N95 masks as opposed to the lower quality surgical or cloth masks? Makes no difference. None of it, he said. Well, what about the studies that initially persuaded policymakers to impose mask mandates? They were convinced by non-randomized studies, flawed observational studies. How do we get beyond that finding of that particular review?
Yeah, but there are other studies, Michael, that show at an individual level for individual. When you're talking about the effect on the epidemic or the pandemic as a whole, the data are less strong.
You made no sense.
Zero
what you
cent
just
fat.
said.
It's a nothing salad.
Wait a minute. Individual level. Individuals
And
make
by the way,
groups.
this just came out. I don't know if you saw this. This thing just came out, Vinny, if you saw this thing
What's
here.
this?
From CDC, apparently. Breaking CDC has stated that Americans who have received the mRNA COVID vaccines are now at a high risk of infection from new variants of the virus than those who aren't
Oh,
vaccinated.
so you're talking about Jill Biden, Pat, who yesterday tested positive.
Can you
for
verify
COVID.
this? Go for it.
Jill Biden, I'm pretty sure vaccinated in every single booster shot. She's probably in line for another booster. But Pat, this goes to my question is, Americans, are you going to comply when they try to bring this back? Because you know it's coming back. These are the signs. The First Lady, COVID. You wheel out Fauci. He's trying to be like, well, I said it, but I didn't say it. This is going to be a beautiful test to see if Americans are going to bow down and do exactly as they're told again, because it's starting to come back. Philadelphia is doing it. I'm seeing my mom flew recently. She said people at the airport are already starting to wear the mask. It doesn't work. And I sent Rob a video, Pat, of Fauci. This is mid-pandemic, during the pandemic, saying on 60 Minutes, mask. Nobody during a pandemic should be wearing a mask because they don't want. Rob, you have that little clip? I sent it to you. It's like, how many times are we going to let these people flip-flop, Tom? And then zero accountability. And why do we keep wheeling him out? He's retired. We don't want to see you anymore. Can you show it really fast?
Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks.
You're sure of it? Because people are listening really closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is.
So interesting.
What was the date on this?
What was the date? That was probably March of 2020.
Mid pandemic. So
but not mid, like very early, right? March of 2020.
Very early, but even does it matter if the head? Hey, that's Mr. Science says it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, then what's the point? And then, but Adam, my real question, I'm being genuine. Then what is it? Is it a show of their power, of like they could mess with us whenever they want? Because if it doesn't work, what's the point? Why?
Yeah, good
Why
question. But I think, look, as the president George W. Bush once said, fool me once, you can't,
tourist,
you can't get fooled again.
Tourist.
Fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me twice. Shame on me. So, look, I think what happened during COVID, just taking like kind of a step back. It was so new. It was so weird. We've never seen anything like this. First time in 100 years of pandemic. People are told to trust the science. Operation Warp Speed Trump. You got Fauci out there doing his thing. It's just like you have Dr. Birx out there. People didn't have no clue. No clue. They're telling, get a shot, don't get a shot. I don't know. You got to travel. If you want to leave the country, you got to travel. But I feel, to use the George W. Bush, they can't get fooled again.
Yeah.
I feel like if this happens again.
Yeah.
People are like, nah, bro.
You really have that much faith in the average American?
I do.
Okay, I don't. They're gonna bow down.
And this comes down to what I was gonna say. There's a difference between choice and mandates. I think we can all agree this is not a country where mandates play well. If you want to get vaxxed, if you want to wear a mask, if you want to put a face diaper on your face, as they say, more power to you. Do your thing. If you're like, nah, dude, that's not for me. I don't want to get vaxxed. I don't play that game. Then that's on you. Like, look, Jill Biden has COVID now.
Yeah.
My mom just got over COVID.
Yeah.
Certain people close to us in the vicinity of Valuetainment have had COVID. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And whether you get vaxxed or whether you don't get vaxxed, that's your choice. But I do not believe in mandates.
But I understand that. But you're saying that now, Adam. What I'm saying is when, like you said, that chaos, that madness, and then, I mean, they knew what the hell was going on. They know what the deal is. They were mandating it. You couldn't fly. Adam, you remember? If you were on an airplane and you even tried to lower your mask, they were on top of you. Right, and some people I was on a flight coming here, Adam. They kicked the dude off. He's like, I'm not wearing a mask. They kicked him off. So I mean, we've changed. My curiosity is when it hits the fan again, and it's coming because the new BA whatever, the BA for the sheep. It's the new one. Let's see how Americans.
Rob, can you go back to what you just pulled up when I said, can you verify this? That one article. Let me read this here. Based on what? Can you please read that?
Sure. This is from CDC.gov. Based on what CDC knows now, existing tests used to detect and medications used to treat COVID-19 appear to be effective with this variant. BA.2.86 may be more capable of causing infection in people who have previously had COVID-19 or who have received COVID-19 vaccines. And again, that's from CDC.gov.
That's from CDC.gov.
That's the CDC.
So go out and get unvaccinated so you'll be safer.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah, but
can't get fooled again.
But Pat, and here's my thing. Here's what the average American is thinking, not conspiracy theorists, coincidence theorists. Isn't it? It's a weird coincidence that now we're getting close to election year. This is the test. This is there's another variant. Put on the mask. The first lady has it. At what point is it going to get that where they're like, oh God, pandemic number 2 is here. You got to stay home. Nobody leave your house. Vote from your house and mail in ballots. Pat, I'm telling you guys right now, that's where they're leading up to. I think that's what's gonna happen.
Let's wrap this up with one thing. You know, the weatherman can say, "Can you pop that up, Malik? Pop that one back up." From CDC, we're going to go to the next to last statement real fast. You know, it can rain, or it can be a hurricane, right? And right now it says here, at this point, there is no evidence that this variant is causing more severe illness. There you have it. So guess what? There is a direct link in all this to herd immunity, and that the variants out there are not making people as sick as they used to. So when you say the word COVID, it's not like saying rain versus hurricane. The hurricane's over. It may rain, and they rain for a couple days, and you get sick, and you come back.
By the way,
to work.
P.S. China still has not been held accountable. I'd like to just point that out. What the hell's going on in China?
Isn't that weird?
Just going to point that out right there.
Isn't that weird? We still, Pat, to this day, wait, you still can't even say that type of stuff for being racist. Where is the accountability for words?
You know what was the most funniest thing is when that one time when Trump says, it's called China virus. Yeah. China. And then it says, sir, you can't call it China. That's discriminating against the whole population we have in America. And then the journalist reporter who's Chinese, Asian lady says, it's called China. Why would you say that to me?
Remember that.
Would you say that to me because I'm Chinese? No, it's because it's from China.
Yeah.
and then the story comes out, it's from China. You know. So.
Okay, so we're gonna go back.
Is that the one? Is that the one? That's the one. Can you just play that?
That's not the Asian. No, that's not.
No, I know. It starts with that, and she's the last one.
Oh, got you.
Go play it from the beginning,
hot,
Rob.
By the way. She's cute.
Watch this.
Keep calling this the Chinese virus. There are reports of dozens of incidents of bias against Chinese Americans in this country. Your own aide, Secretary Azar, says he does not use this term. He says ethnicity does not cause the virus. Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all. No, not at all. It comes from China. That's why.
That's why.
They don't have the Asian lady.
Yeah, the Asian lady was she's like, why are you looking at me when you're saying that? It's like, China.
Yeah.
Wow. Weird. He was right.
It's like in the 40-year-old version. He's like,
let's move on to the next story because we're not going to go back to the history books and erase the Spanish flu or erase the Hong Kong flu or the great insult to pigs around the world, the swine flu.
Exactly.
Shout out to monkeypox though. What Vinny got that one time.
Let's talk about. Do we want to talk about the Friends? Let's talk about the Friends right now. They've been friends for 60 years. Lou and Bobby have figured out what most men don't when it comes.
Do it again in that voice.
I love that voice. I love it. It's
let's get it on.
Listen. Lou and Bobby. What a name. Lou. Lifelong friends. Lou Wilcox and Bobby Roback Jr., who met in 1962, continue their strong bond by spending Saturdays together. Their routine involves breakfast, errands, and heartfelt conversations that reflect their shared stories and understanding. The decline in close friendships, especially among men, is evident with 15% lacking close friends as of 2021. Per the American Perspective Survey, societal norms emphasizing work and family over emotional sharing contribute to this trend, saying psychology professor Michael Addis, the chemistry of friendships thrives on shared experiences. Lou and Bobby's journey includes growing up in similar household, facing illness, so in other words, have COVID with friends and careers in law enforcement. They navigated differences openly and support each other through lifelong challenges. Their enduring companionship serves as a model for mental health and well-being as they navigate together. Yeah. And by the way, go ahead. I was going to say the article that follows this.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, so Harvard happiness expert. There are 3 types of friendships. Here's why you need all of them. The utility friendship, those that can pay your bills. No, I'm just joking. Think
That's
about,
what I need, Vinny.
Think about the relationship you have with people with whom you work with or with whom you do business with. These relationships tend to be transactional in nature. Friendships based on pleasure. I mean, there's some words for this as well, right? So this one comes with benefit. This type of relationship is based on mutual admiration because each person draws pleasure from each other. If a person finds their friend funny, interesting, and a source of enjoyment, it is likely a friendship of pleasure. And last but not least, perfect friendship. By Aristotle's standards, perfect friendships are those between people who have a mutual love for something that not only brings them together, but elevates their behavior to virtue. A relationship is perfect not when it is based on utility or pleasure, but when it is focused on improving the circumstance of the other person.
Are we perfect friends, Pat?
So what's going on over?
I think we're all perfect friends.
Tom, what do you think?
Why is this a headline? I mean, Philadelphia.
Wall Street Journal.
Right. But think about it. Philadelphia was known as the city of brotherly love, where people in a tough environment would back each other up, help each other out, help each other with kids and family and stuff. And that's what you do. It used to be called neighbors. It used to be called community.
Yeah.
And when you go to the Bible talks about 3 types of love: agape, phileo, and eros. Eros is erotic love between spouses. Agape is like God's unlimited love for us, so much he was willing to die for us. And then phileo is exactly what he's talking about. That's where we get Philadelphia. I don't understand why it is such a newsflash that when people come together in community to really support each other, whether you both love the Philadelphia Eagles and you go to ball games together, or you both have teenage kids and you're getting through that together, or you're supporting each other, one person gets laid off, you're helping them out find jobs. I don't understand why it's such a newsflash that what was once a core of America, knowing all your neighbors' names and being connected to them and supporting them is a headline now. And I think it's great that they're highlighting the long-term benefits that these 2 guys have had, because if America will come back to this spirit of community, I think there'd be a lot of benefits to the psyche of people getting through recessions, COVID, and all these things, because you'd have more friends and more support.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going on with these 2 gay guys, Lou and Bobby, but these guys have been living together for 60 years.
Don't do that.
I don't know. Lou Wilcox and Bobby. Look, back in the Army, my friend, Lieutenant Colonel Peacox, that was my guy. That was my guy. I don't know about this Wilcox guy. But look, here's what I will say. Speaking of the 3 friends, I know that you got all biblical on friendships, Tom. I'm going to, bring it back to the real world in 2023.
That was only one of my points. If you were listening,
I'm not arguing with you.
You weren't.
I'm not arguing with you. Athos, pathos, and fellatio.
Fellatio.
So, look, there's 3 types of friends. I like how they pointed this out. You have your work friends.
Yeah.
I get it. These are transactional. Hey, buddy, what's up?
Pandering to the mob.
Then I would say that you have, like, your party friends. These, hey, what's up, bro? How you doing? Let's go party. But these aren't, like, your best friends. And then you have the guys you can just sit on the couch with and chill. Those are your buddies. I love what Pitbull had to say. Is that because especially during COVID, we all isolated. You weren't around your friends. You weren't around your people. And just because you have social media doesn't mean you're socializing.
Yeah.
Right? You need to get out there and have friends. And there has been a massive decline in friendships. So I think in the 80s, people had 5 or 6 close friends. Today, it's 1 or 2 at the most. Like, there's a limited amount of friendships. People just are not socializing outside. And then everyone's so obsessed with having followers. But the opposite of followers is being a leader. So get out there, make some friends, even if it's like these 2 60-year-old men over here.
I thought you were going to say you have friends you smoke weed with, some you do coke with, some you drink alcohol with. I thought that's the direction you're going. If you're being from Miami,
that's
like
all
there's
the same crew. That's the same.
I got you. So there's loyalty between those 3. I got you. Okay. No, I mean, listen, as crazy as it sounds, there was an article, Rob, a couple of weeks ago. We never got to it. The whole lonely epidemic. If you remember that article, I think we were trying to comment on it for a couple of weeks. We forgot about it. I obviously forgot about it. But it was a story about the fact that a lot of people are lonely nowadays, right? America has a lonely problem, whatever the article was.
Was it the article from Scott Galloway where it's like the most dangerous
No,
people
that wasn't the one. It was another one.
Lonely, isolated.
But by the way, it is true, though. There are a lot of people that don't have friends. There is an element. Look, I remember, I'm telling you, even from the business standpoint, when I started PHP, the beginning stages, oh my gosh, being introduced to a Vistage or a group of people, we'd sit there and talk about problems of running a company, having kids, family, and then you're all of a sudden saying to yourself, man, I'm not the only person going through this. I thought I'm the only person because I have to battle with being lonely. You think you're the only person that's going through this problem. You think you're the only person that's facing the embarrassing, humiliating breakup, challenge, issues, struggle. And then eventually you're like, no, man, there's a lot of other people out there. You know, this whole concept of AA when it got started is other people have a similar issue like you as well, but collectively together, we can get through this. And that system, AA, a big part of it is faith-based. Matter of fact, it is faith-based, has saved so many people's lives, right? Because you go in there and you say, oh, you got a problem too? You got a problem? That guy's a normal guy. That guy's an executive. That guy's wait, she's going through this. Are you kidding me? Wow, I am not alone. So it's great to have these types of conversations, but I will say to you, go find a community. Everybody needs to be part of a community. God knows we need it.
Yeah,
you're going to say something?
And Adam, you killed it too with the social media. Because Pat, think about it. If you're home and you're one of these guys, your phone, you can see everything. You could have virtual video game at your house. You literally have to make a conscious effort to go get the hell up and get the hell out. Just yesterday, bro, Adam, I woke up, I heard a band and people playing. I live by myself. I went to there's like a local farmer's market with a band. And I met people and then I had people over for dinners. You have to get out. And I just want to say that I'm happy that I think you guys are my perfect friends.
Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate that. I'll add one last thing because I know we got to go see Billy Bush.
Love you, Tom.
It's so easy to just not leave your house these days.
It is.
So easy. There's never in the history of humanity have you never had to leave your house. You don't need to go get a girlfriend, just watch porn online. You don't need to have friends, just communicate with your friends on TikTok and on Instagram. You don't need to go shopping, just do it Instacart, go to Amazon. There's no reason to leave your house unless you actually want to be a real human being.
Yeah.
Like one of the things I love about Pat is you had your boy Manny there at the Vault, 21 years. You've had Felix in the office. Whether it's Alpha or Steve or Armand, these guys you've known for 20 years. This Sunday, I went to go see my buddies. They were having a fantasy football draft. I did not participate because it's a waste of time.
Yep.
I just hung out with these guys and ate chicken wings while they called me a Trump fan for 2 hours. I was like, yeah, I'm the Trump guy. But the part of having friends is being able to bust balls, be a dude, and shoot the shit with your homies.
Yep.
And you can't do that online.
No, at all, and it's horrible. And I think about those are the friends that you're supposed to sit and talk with and go through your problem.
Yeah.
People that don't have that, they go to a psychiatrist. They sit there and they talk to somebody. That's what your friends are for.
Guys, do you want us to turn off the podcast and just have a bonding moment together?
Adam, let's go out.
Friends, and how many people have that?
Do you actually remember the words of that song? Friends, how many of us have? Yeah, there you go. Good. Yeah. Okay, so let's go through a story of a company called NVIDIA. Tom, I'm going to come to you with this one here because I know you got a lot of thoughts on this. And Vinny, if you can get your reports ready.
Wait, hold on, because I have charts.
Vinny, you got the TPS reports ready to go?
But by the way, I think this is an excellent story to get into to transition into our next story. NVIDIA crushes analyst expectation in second quarter earning report. Their Q2 earning report released on August 23rd reveals a remarkable, 88% surge in revenue to $13.5 billion, accompanied by an impressive 203% increase in net income to $6.1 billion. Their margins are 50%. Notably, data center revenue also sees substantial growth, soaring to 141% compared to previous quarter. Jensen Huang, founder and CEO of NVIDIA, emphasizes the advent of a new computing era driven by accelerated computing and generative AI. He states the race is on to adopt generative AI. Analysts from Wedbush Securities describe the results as pivotal moment for the tech sector, with ripple effects expected to impact the industry throughout the year. Despite the outstanding performance, NVIDIA acknowledges supply and demand challenges for its AI chips. Demand surpasses supply by 50%, and concerns arise over possible export restrictions to China. Tom, what can you tell us about what these guys are doing?
So here's what's going on. AI needs a power source. That power source is chips, and NVIDIA makes more and better chips for AI than anybody else. It's that simple. This is like Intel. Do you remember the all the ads you used to see growing up, Pat? Intel inside, and you had little robots dancing around, and the next generation, the 286, 386, the Pentium chip. That was the heyday for Intel, because Intel had the technology powering this thing called the personal computer. NVIDIA is powering this thing called AI, and they're a leader like Intel was. Remember when Microsoft was on a roll, and every time they had an earnings report, they would crush it again, including a time when a reporter saw Ballmer and Gates walking to the elevator on the backside of a conference area, you know, just like the elevators you use for security, Pat. And they were high-fiving each other because they had just convinced the analysts that their quarter wasn't going to be as good as it was going to be. And the analysts had kept raising the estimates, and their job was to keep the estimates lower. So you're going to grow 50%. I'm really thinking it's like 30, 35%. I don't know. It could be cloudy tomorrow. And they were doing everything they could. So Microsoft had its heyday. Intel had its heyday. Now we've moved from the Wintel standard for laptops. We've moved into cloud computing and AI chips. And NVIDIA is the Intel of the future for AI. And that's, for people listening, that's the way you look at it. And so they are crushing it. And this is their run to the top.
So if you look at the stock, if you look at this closely, which is obviously very impressive, these guys went from, let's zoom in a little bit, by the way, check this out. From 2019, they're at, whatever, $20, $30, whatever the number is, and then they go up to 141, then they go up, and then they have a drop-off after COVID, big hit, and then boom, now they're back up to 494, right? These guys went from, I think it was a gaming company at one point to semiconductors to now AI. So the whole idea about business is only the paranoid survive, but also the ones that are able to make the right pivots in business are also able to survive. They made the right pivots. Many companies didn't make the right pivots. By the way, this doesn't just apply for some of you guys that are watching and saying, well, I'm not running $1 billion company. I'm doing this. Look, when it comes down to content, you have to make the right pivot. Some don't. They're done. There used to be a lot of people you have watched content. If you could go look at your history, I don't know if you can, from the content you consumed 4 years ago to 3 years ago to 5 years ago to 10 years ago, a lot of those guys are gone. A lot of those guys you're not following anymore. Some people in content didn't make the right pivots. The same happens with business. The same happens with marriage. The same happens with parenting. The same happens with your health. And these guys get credit for making the right pivots. And now the $6.1 billion, Tom, on 50% margins, they're pretty much cashing. Like they're a bank right now printing money the way they're growing.
Oh, absolutely. And again, we've seen this before. But what they did was, for people that were paying attention, what was going on in video game, so everyone that saw Madden football getting more realistic and more realistic and more realistic. You remember this? Who's a gamer in here?
I'm a Call of Duty and I play it.
Okay, well, hadn't Madden football, the players got more lifelike, and then the rain, and then the textures, and then everything about the game. That's why they called it EA Sports. It's in the game. If it's in the game on the field, we want to bring it into the PlayStation and the Game Boy and the Xbox 360. Yeah. So NVIDIA chips in there have been applying, these were called physics engines and also dynamic engines that were inside video games to, project the bounce of the ball according to how you're playing it. Yep. Not a movie, but according to what's happening. And NVIDIA's chips have been on this march toward what they have today. So what started in video games with AI and everything else, they didn't just come out of the garage and say, oh, look what I just invented. This is a company that is an overnight sensation 12 years in the making.
I'll add one thing, and this is basically a shout out to the Vault event and PBD, but one of my favorite parts of the entire Vault is when you do the case studies. And there was an entire, half-hour long case study, debate, argument, state your case, what you're going to do. And everyone in the audience had the opportunity to say what they would do to implement AI in the company. And Manny had an answer, and other guy had an answer, and Ashot had an answer. And it was going back and forth. But that, my friends, is kind of the reason we do this podcast, is that's where you find common ground. That's where you find the answer. So I don't know if you saw... that Eric Schmidt, who was the former CEO of Google, obviously they're involved in the AI game, was just on my boy's show for Reed Zakaria, and he was pointing out basically all the pros, the cons of essentially AI. I think that's what we're in need of right now. Is there's so many questions around AI. Nobody knows, is it good? Is it bad? Is it going to change the world? Are robots going to take over? I think we need more conversations and more specifically debates around AI.
Rob, how we looking, Rob?
Good. We're just sound checking and video checking real quick.
Okay, sounds good.
Why don't we just get AI on the case?
So let's do one story and then we'll go to that. So Google AI chief warns genetic engineering could bring deadliest pandemics ever. It's an interesting story. Mustafa Soleiman, Google's AI chief, sounds the alarm about a major global threat, a super pandemic resulting from genetic engineering. He warns that within the next decade, it could become commonplace for individuals to create more lethal pandemics from home, stating a kid in Russia could download the instructions set for pandemic. Soleiman underscores the urgency of containment and access control, saying we have to limit access to the tools and the know-how. Soleiman stresses the accessibility of advanced AI technology, noting its increasing affordability and availability. He highlights the potential risk, including cheating on exams, crafting viruses with worldwide impact. Driven by the open nature of the technology, to address these concerns, he advocates for an international treaty involving not just allies, but also perceived adversaries like China and Russia, stating, we all have a shared interest in advancing the collective health and well-being. Tom.
So I got two sides to this. The first side of this is maybe the guy's right. The second side to this is maybe Google wants to be the biggest defense contractor in the AI world. And they're like, we need to have a shared interest and a global treaty and limit access to everybody else except us so that we can dominate the space. So I think I read this story and my skepticism goes right down the middle. Maybe he's right. But on the other side, you know what? Maybe he's just trying to carve out a place for Google, and he's using scare tactics to do it, because limit the access, he's not talking about himself. An international treaty, he's not talking about being left out.
It's kind of like saying, so listen, guys, you can trust us because we're responsible. We're not going to do anything. But you have to be careful with the other people, because at Google, we have your best interest in mind. Even though we control Google, YouTube, a lot of different companies, we know what's right for you. Is that kind of what your interpretation is?
Exactly right. From the company who originals charter on the wall when there was only 6 employees that got out of that garage in Silicon Valley, don't be evil, was one of their tenants. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
And they've been embarrassed by that being waved in their face how many million times? Literally millions of times, by pundits and observers who think that they have done evil in so many ways.
You think that's Larry and Sergey? They're being accused of evil? Is that what you're saying?
Go read the articles. The buck stops somewhere.
Why read the articles? I got the BizDoc right here.
No, I mean the point is look what they've done, the manipulation of YouTube. Look what they've done on manipulation of AdSense. Somewhere, someplace in there, they've said, okay, for the profit motive, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Government's on the phone. They're a big contractor of the Google data center. They'd like these 4 people to be taken off of YouTube, because they're talking about vaccines. Okay, I'll be right back.
Well, let's see what happens there. But
that's
I know
the whole evil line.
We have Billy Bush here with us. His newest book, Family Reigns: The Extraordinary Rise and Epic Fall of an American Dynasty, available on Amazon. Rob, let's make sure we put the link in chat as well as the description. He is the founder of the Bush Family Brewing and Distilling Company and heir to Anheuser-Busch's multi-billion-dollar fortune. He's a proud father of 7 children and stars with his wife in the MTV reality series The Bush Family Brood. A graduate of St. Louis University, he played professional polo, winning the U.S. Open Polo Tournament. He and his wife, Christy, a film producer and head of Bush Productions, live on their 700-acre estate in St. Louis, Missouri. Billy, thank you for taking the time for being on the podcast.
It's a pleasure, Patrick. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, so Billy, you know, it's interesting. Just a couple weeks ago, Tom and I were at the UFC event with Dana White, and Dana introduces us to the CEO of Anheuser-Busch, Brandon Whitworth, which, by the way, he seemed like a friendly guy. We had a good conversation together with him. And I asked him the question that I want to ask you to see what perspective you have. As an operator myself running a company, you know, you got a lot of direct reports. You'll have the CMO reports to you. You'll have the CFO reports to you. You'll have your chief compliance officer. Different businesses have different chiefs, but you'll have all these chiefs that'll report to you. You know, sometimes you'll have chiefs reporting to other chiefs. But how does when a decision is made by this Alyssa Heinerscheid, a very friendly last name, when she decides, the VP of marketing, to send these beers to Dylan Mulvaney, and Dylan Mulvaney takes it, and all of a sudden it's cost at this point, I don't know the exact number, how much?
Billion?
No, it's a lot of money that they've lost. Every week the number changes because they haven't fully recovered yet. Billy, for you, obviously your background will go into the company, but a decision like that being made, who has to give the approval for that to go? So meaning, is it more of a CEO responsibility, the CMO, or is the CMO empowering the VP of marketing to say, look, let's get the product out in markets we're not in? How does that work out?
Well, I remember back in the old days that nothing went out until the CEO approved of it. And, I am, after writing the book, Family Reigns, The Extraordinary Rise and Epic Fall of an American Dynasty, I am more close to my ancestors and the people that ran Anheuser-Busch than I've ever been. And I understand it much better these days. And I just see that, that kind of marketing, nothing would go by the CEO without their approval. And I even remember going with my father, Gussie Busch, August Busch Jr. He was the fourth leader of Anheuser-Busch, and going to conventions and wholesaler meetings, things like that, and seeing him show the wholesalers and people at the conventions what the upcoming ads were going to look like before they ever aired them. And so they had the ability to weigh in on the ads. So, I just don't know how something like that would have slipped through the cracks with Brandon at Anheuser-Busch InBev today. But of course it did, and look what happened.
Do you think he knew about it and he approved it, or do you think it happened without him knowing about it?
I think he had to have known about it, Patrick. I don't think anything happens to that in that magnitude without the CEO knowing about it.
Okay, so let's say he did know about it. This is a guy that's a former CIA guy. He's a sharp guy. He's not like a lightweight. He went to Harvard, I believe. I think, he's military background. He's a decorated guy. So he's got the military side. He's got the paranoid side of being in the military and CIA, where you're always skeptical and wonder what people's motives are. You've gone to Harvard, so you got a little bit of the business background. You've done a ton of case studies. What would make him, with the background that he has, say, I think it's a good idea to send Dylan Mulvaney, some Bud Lights, and let's put Dylan's logo on it, and he's going to probably end up liking it, and it's going to get us into a market we're not. Knowing who his audience is not that.
Well, I got to tell you, if he's a CIA guy and has been working in that branch and doing things like that, maybe he doesn't understand the beer business that well. Maybe he doesn't really understand who his audience is. But, as we've heard today, the CIA are very left. They're doing everything to help this administration succeed right now. And the Biden administration, they're working against conservatives. And as we know, this is a very woke agenda that we're seeing with the CIA. So if he is part of that agenda, then it's obvious why he went with an ad like that.
I'd follow up with this, and then Tom, I'm going to turn it over to you. I know you got a couple questions for him as well. So for me, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, because when I spoke to him, Dana spoke very highly of him. And when I'm talking to this guy, he seems like a reasonable guy. He doesn't seem like somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. We had a good 10, 15-minute conversation together. So how much of it, Billy, could be the fact that nowadays with ESG, people are concerned about their scores, and you're looking at these three companies that are pretty much controlling the marketplace through institutional investing. I'm talking the Vanguard, State Street, BlackRock, the Larry Finks of the world. So they're going out there and investing into these companies, and you have to create a certain guideline, and you got to have this DEI score and this CEI score. So there's so much pressure to have that, to get on the right scoring, so S&P doesn't downgrade your ESG score. Of course, nowadays S&P is saying we're no longer looking at the ESG. How much you think was that versus how much you think he said, I think this is a brilliant idea, let's do it?
Well, I think that absolutely weighs into it, what Blackstone and Vanguard and the other company are part of, and how much control they have over these companies today, and their agendas that they're pushing. And it's really sad to see, because if you listen to them, obviously they don't know the beer business. They don't know even like Disney. They don't know the theme park business. And I do believe that they have something to do with pushing these kind of woke agendas on these companies. And, does it take a really strong CEO to say, no, we're not going to do that? That's not what our audience is all about. Our Bud Light drinker does not want a transgender on their beer can. Not, it's too political. It's been politicized over and over again, with men competing in women's sports and all these things going on today. So, when my family ran the company, and it's in the book, they would never get political in that way, because they didn't want to alienate 50% of the population in America. And that's what these guys did. And, my family was very much like Brandon. I don't know the CEO of Anheuser-Busch now, but they were all, my dad was a colonel in the Army during World War II. My great-grandfather even was a corporal during the Civil War for the Union Army. And so they all know about the military. They were all very much American, but, they would never politicize their ads. They loved this country for what it stood for. They believed in freedom. They believed in, of course, the rights to transgenders and gays and everyone out there. As long as you weren't hurting anybody, that's what this country is built on. But to get into these kinds of advertising just doesn't make sense. And honestly, Patrick, I don't know how they're going to come out of it. I really don't. I think I know their sales are still way down. I don't think they're making much of a comeback at all. And whether they get the drinker back and make that America's beer again, which my family worked so incredibly hard to build, is yet to be seen.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I was in the Army, 101st Airborne, all we drank was Bud Light. And I will tell you, some nights we drank 23. The record is 27, but let's keep that between us. Tom, you had some thoughts on this. Go for it. You had some questions.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say, as a young man, lived a couple of years in Creve Coeur when my dad's job had us there, and he and my mom took us to Grant's Farm. And I remember going there. It was a wonderful experience. You felt tradition, you felt family there. So thank you very much for your family having that wonderful, essentially making it like a national park. But I see the tradition in that, and I also see you're welcome. And I also see the tradition in your heart. You're a brewer at heart, and what you've just done with your own brewery, and an entrepreneur at heart. You built one attempt. It didn't work out so well. And now you have another one where you've got two of these Pilsner beers out there, Gussie and Adolphus, in tribute to your family members. And I look at that, and I see the heart of an entrepreneur. I see a heart of the family. And I want to ask you a question. Seagate Technologies was taken private. They went back and took it private, if you know about that company out in Silicon Valley, storage. Michael Dell took Dell back private, took back control of it. You've made comments about Bud Light. Is there an opportunity here for maybe the family to take back, because it was not an intentional thing? The family had sold its holdings, and you were in a position that many companies are in, where you could have these hostile takeovers, and ultimately, I guess they got the bid up to 71, and it was to a point where the shareholder vote, nobody was going to vote against that, because it was such a premium to purchase. And as try as August the 4th tried, who I think was your nephew. You became an uncle when you were 5 years old, I think, as the story goes. Do you think about the opportunity here, like Seagate, like Dell, to take a run back and bring this back into the fold and show the American fan and customer, multi-generation customer, that you're going to take this back and you're going to do something with it?
Well, thank you for all your nice comments there. And you must have read the book, Tom, because everything you're saying, is in the book. I grew up on Grant's Farm, and I'm glad you enjoyed it there. And it was a wonderful place to grow up and had a great time. And I talk all about my experiences in the book, Family Reigns. So check it out. You guys are going to love it. But yes, I will say that I do think it's going to be a very difficult quest for InBev now to get Bud Light rolling again. I just go back in history and I see the accomplishments that my great-grandfather, grandfather, father, and his brother, how hard they worked, how much they loved the company, how much they loved their employees, how they understood America and their audience, how much they love this country, and you could live the American dream here. And I think that's one of the reasons I wrote the book today, is because, people forget how great this country is. And I wanted people to understand that where I came from, and that is, you can make it if you work hard and you have a dream and you have the faith and you have the determination. You can make it in this country. You can do great things. You've got a really, really good chance to do it anyway. And so I never worked directly at Anheuser-Busch. I didn't have that opportunity. And if you go back in the book again, you can see why I wouldn't have had that opportunity.
Yep.
But I did work at 2 distributorships and delivering beer to the customers, to the bars and the restaurants and the grocery stores and liquor stores and what have you, all the different convenience stores, of course. And I got to know the people. I got to understand the industry in that. I was also grew up on the entertainment side of the business at Grant's Farm, keeping the place beautiful and maintained for guests that would come the 7 months of the year we were open. And then, like you said, I had my own company, the William K. Bush Brewing Company, with my family. And, we made a heck of a college try at making a go with that company. It didn't work out. So we've kind of changed the model now with the Bush Family Brewing and Distilling Company, inviting people out to our farm to enjoy the history and the beer and the beautiful farm atmosphere and great food. And I think to get to your question, I think in order for InBev to turn things around, they're going to have to do something drastic with the Bud Light brand. And to make it the iconic brand that my family built is going to be very difficult for them to do it in the situation that they're in. And I am serious as can be. If they were ever willing to spin off the Bud Light brand or the Budweiser family brands, I would be more than happy to buy them. I would be the first in line. I think bringing them back in the Bush family would not only be a win for the Bush family, but it would also be a win for America, and it would be a win for InBev.
That would be very interesting, Adam.
Billy, question for you. I want to hear how you would make Bud Light great again. So, growing up in the 90s, we all remember the commercials. They were iconic. What's up? Is he gone? Okay, there he is. What's up? Or, to the real American heroes, we salute you and all this. And then used to have the Bud versus Bud Light Super Bowl things.
And the frogs.
Everything. It was awesome. The commercials were amazing, right? Fast forward, sign of the times today, you got Dylan frickin' Mulvaney as your spokesperson. And Vinny's like, I think they lost $1 billion. Try $27 billion, sir. Not your fault. I get it. But, I saw you on Tommy Lauren, her podcast. And you were like, look, I just think they're out of touch. They're based in Brazil, InBev. You told this awesome story about, I think it was your grandfather, even 90 years old, getting in a truck, meeting the guys who are running bars, just like a politician would, getting out there, shaking hands, kissing babies, like selling your beer, selling your brand. And I just think there's a lot of things that are out of touch. A shout out to Hall & Oates right there. Fast forward to today, there's a video of our friend Tom, who just asked you a question. Pat offered him a beer. He's like, I won't even touch it. Won't even touch it. Then you got Kid Rock literally assassinating Bud Lights. It's like, it's gone so extreme. So if you were to buy it back, right now, Modelo is the #1 beer in America. Freaking Mexican beer. I think InBev owns them as well. So how would you actually make Bud Light great again?
I would get out there on the street. I would meet with the bar owners and the managers of the different accounts that we sell the beer into, like I have been for the last several years, 10 years, with the former company. And when I did it with the Budweiser distributorships, get out there, meet people. I would have everybody that worked for me, including the marketing company, get on a truck, deliver beer, understand who their customer is. Get out there, get involved so that they know who their marketing to. I don't think InBev. I think unfortunately for them, they're not an American company, like you said, Patrick, and they don't understand the American customer, the audience that drinks Bud Light. They haven't been out there selling the beer. Like I was telling Tommy, how my father, still at 90 years old, would go into a bar, buy people beers, and shake hands, and that's the way to do it. And it comes down to the old-fashioned way of marketing the product. There's all kinds of ways to market today. There's so many different channels, but basically, my family always lived by the statement, making friends is our business. You got to get out there. You got to get amongst the people, because that's what beer drinking is all about, right? It's all about bringing people together, being social, inclusive, and having a great time. And that's what the campaigns in history have been about. Also, the quality of the beer, the strength of the beer with the 8-horse hitch, the Clydesdales was something that was huge for Anheuser-Busch. And, that's the kind of way I would go about it again, to really get to make Bud Light and the Budweiser brands America's beer once again.
What would you say to Dylan Mulvaney if he was at the bar just sitting there drinking a Bud Light? Would you have anything to say to Dylan Mulvaney?
I would say, let me buy you one, Dylan. But listen, I'm not going to use you as an influencer on our marketing ads. More power to you. Please, I'm glad you love Bud Light. Please enjoy it with your friends and your family. And
I don't think he actually loves Bud Light. I think he's sipping on rosé or some sort of Zinfandel.
All right, let's Tom. If you have final thoughts, we have one last question.
Yeah, I would, I once read that there were 10 iconic brands in America, and I'm not going to remember all of them, but it was Coke, Harley Davidson, Ford, Budweiser, and Chevrolet, I think, was on the list. And I think in many ways, if the family brought it back at a time where I think America needs unity and maybe a return to some of the great iconic brands of it, I'd love to see this come back to the family, and so you to do something strong with it.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom, for that.
Really
and by the way, Billy, I want to finish with a legendary quote by Adolphus Busch. I think we have to finish it the right way. He once said, you can only drink 30 or 40 glasses of beer a day, no matter how rich you are. So we never got there. It was the goal. 23 is our number. Billy, again, thank you for coming out, folks watching this. Rob, let's make sure we put the link below to his book that just came out. Family Reigns, The Extraordinary Rise and the Epic Fall of an American Dynasty. Thank you, Billy. That was fantastic. Great to have him on, and I think we lost him. But Billy, if you're listening, thank you for coming on. Really enjoyed it. Interesting to see what's going on. My whole thing is, if you're running a company that's always known for having the best commercials you do, I mean, when you're going back and telling those stories, Budweiser, hey, what's up? When you think about that, to go to this, there has to be a set of non-negotiables, as the CEO to say, anything we're going to do that's against this, our core brand, you need approval. And for it to happen without that is kind of weird. And if you did approve it and you did send it out and you're paying the price for it, well, you cost the company a lot of money. Not a little bit of money.
I wonder where that girl's working right now. The one that...
What'd you think about his
the one that apparently didn't get fired, and you can't say she got fired.
She wasn't fired.
$27 billion mistake.
Let's talk about Oprah and Rock. So Oprah and Rock decided to come out with a message to say they have the right way, the way to be trusted, to give money to. And if you give money through them, it will definitely be a good decision to help out the people in Maui. Vinny, you have some thoughts to say with this video. It's all over the place. A lot of people are happy that they did this, calling them noble. A lot of people are not happy about it. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so, first, they made a video asking the average Joe for money. And I get, Pat, I know, we go to the same church. I donate, I give the family, I give the friends, but it's pretty crazy. One of the facts that we saw, that was a great sound, by the way.
Yeah,
I
that
love
was
that
a Bud
sound.
Light right there.
Is
Vault Watermelon. You've had too many of them.
Yeah, these people, it feels great. These people, between her and The Rock, Pat, guess how rich they are? Just if you had to guess on the book.
$3.5 billion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You nailed it. And from the stats that we showed on one of the first stories, the average American, especially like low income, Pat, it's up paycheck to paycheck, 78% from 76%. We're struggling, but she's so concerned. If she's so concerned, Pat, about these fires and these people, why did she fire? She hired a private firefighting team to protect her land. before this all went down, right? And instead, Oprah just got 2,000 acres of land. Oprah, if you're so concerned, why don't you give up some of that land for some of these displaced people so they could stay? Because these people have nothing. They're struggling right now. So why don't you, put your money where your mouth is? She hasn't mentioned, Pat, that she bought all this land for pennies on the dollar. And I think it's just how out of touch. I don't think this is genuine. And I want to give some facts just about Maui. The government leaders, they did want to make it. People were saying it's a conspiracy. They wanted to make this a smart city, but the locals didn't want to sell. They were like, no, this is our land. We don't want to sell it. All of a sudden, this fire comes out, right? And all these stories from the ground, from actual residents, police blockaded people with 18-wheelers and patrol cars, Pat, so they couldn't get to their land. The government shut off the water. They canceled school. And out of 3,000 missing, Pat, 1,000 children have been accounted for. There are still 2,000 children, and this is a fact. I'm conspiracy theorist that they're missing. Nobody's talking about it. The police chief, and I know we talked about it, is the same police chief that was in Vegas during the Vegas massacre. He appointed himself the coroner. So you mean to tell me that guy is the only person that could see the bodies and make a determination of the cause of death? It's like this keeps piling up, right? And all of a sudden, Zuckerberg, Oprah, all these people buying all this land. And then as a military veteran, Pat, there's a military base 15 minutes away. They weren't there until a week and a half. It's just none of it is adding up. And then FEMA holding back water and everything like that. And I cannot tell you, Pat, how many videos I'm seeing that you're not going to see on social media. You're not going to see on Facebook, on CNN and all this stuff. Only on X, only on Twitter. The people are flipping, losing their minds. They're like, something is up. We can't get to our land. Everything is fenced off. We're getting phone calls from people saying, we'll buy your land. They basically, that's why I'm saying the Oprah and the Rock world, Pat, if you watch this, it doesn't feel genuine. I don't feel it. Something is up. And I
play the first 30 seconds. Let's just see what.
Maui, that we were texting back and forth. And I read this article that Dolly Parton had given money in her community. And I said, I think this is the answer. You said, I think that's the answer.
I said, I love it.
And so we have created the People's Fund of Maui that will put money directly in the hands of the people who need it right now. So if you send a donation, just click where you see below and send a donation. That money is going to go to one of many residents who have been displaced in Maui. We guarantee.
That's right. And I know a lot of people out there, as Oprah and I have been finding, are just having a hard time trusting where the money goes. What organizations should I send money to? How can I help? In this case.
And can I say something too, Pat?
Yeah.
They're asking the average American that can't pay rent, living paycheck to paycheck. How about this, Oprah? Why don't you ask Biden or the government, hey, could we have $1 billion of the $200 million we sent to Ukraine and just give it to them? How about right now? I want $1 billion back and give it back to them, Pat. Because apparently I heard something too where there's money that she put in money and he put in money.
They both put in money.
They both put in money, but there's a loophole or something where that money is going to the organization. It's not even coming out of their pocket. It's like if you
Can you verify that? Because to me, if they're putting their own money and then they're also raising money, I think it's you're at least doing something with it, right? Now, I mean, is it enough money to do anything more here? Let's just see what it's saying. Oprah and Rock angered some fans by asking them to give Maui their own donations was less than 0.5% of their total wealth. Can you go a little lower? 0.5% of their total wealth. So 0.5% is what? $3.5 billion. 1% would be $35 million. So half would be $17.5 million. So I see what you're saying. So that's kind of how they calculate. So the fans urge them to donate more than $10 million.
But do you feel me, Pat? Like this message is for the average American. Why don't you go after the people that have all the money?
I mean, here's the thing about giving money, man. You can never give enough money. Never. When you do give any kind of money, it's never enough. If you give $1 million, they say, why don't you give $2 million? If you give $2 million, they'll say, why don't you give $5 million? So to that part, I totally understand where they're coming from. I didn't know they're giving money. I thought they're not giving money. If they're giving $10 million as well from their own money to Maui, respect to them. To all the other stuff, the fact that that one girl that went viral with the video, tell us why you hired firefighters before the fire even took place. How did you know to do that? That's the stuff that we don't know that needs to be investigated. All the other stuff, they want to bring awareness. No, listen, eventually what happens to a lot of people that give money, they want to give anonymously, and they don't even want to be involved. They're like, dude, I don't want to give it. I'll give something, but just please don't tell anybody, because I know no matter what I give will never be enough. No matter what I give will never be enough. So go for it.
And at what point, Pat, does coincidence and conspiracy, like, where are we at? Because I Googled the definition. Coincidence is a remarkable concurrence of events or circumstances without apparent casual happenings. But conspiracy is a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. We get looked upon as these crazy. I'm a conspiracy theorist. Is it so crazy to see that these people are making, or they're doing something on purpose? How many mistakes had to happen? Is it gross negligence, Pat? Or was it set up for them to lose all this land?
These are two different issues. I'm very skeptical what happened on Maui. I'm very skeptical what the politicians did locally. I'm very skeptical why they didn't give the water. I'm very skeptical why it doesn't look like fire. It looks like it's completely something else with the dogs looking the way they did. I'm very skeptical why certain houses didn't catch on fire within the community of Maine. I'm very skeptical of that.
Yes.
There could be two different issues within the same event. I'm super skeptical about why the guy from Vegas shooting Mandalay Bay is the guy that's working on it. Now's the core, assigns himself. That kind of stuff, super skeptical. This kind of stuff, you're giving money, it's not enough, get in line. Everybody, no matter how much you ever give to anyone, they're always going to say that's not enough, that's not enough, that's not enough. So until we find out more, if they're giving $10 million, more power to them. Can they give more? I'm sure they can. They don't have to. It's their money. They worked hard for it. They're giving a lot more than the government is right now. Way more than the government is right now. Government's giving $700 per family, so good for those guys. Okay, all right, so let's go into a couple other stories here. So which one do we want to go to? Do we want to do
any
Trump?
Politics today.
We haven't hit any politics. Which one do you want to go to? Tom's got some thoughts on this with Super PAC. Okay, so two things. So DeSantis' team denies Trump's rumor that he'll drop out of the presidential race to run for Senate. This was a week ago on August 28. It's on page 7. I'll read two stories simultaneously. Then, Tom, I'm going to give it to you. So DeSantis spokesperson Brian Griffin strongly refuted Trump's claim on Truth Social that DeSantis could abandon the presidential race for a Senate run, saying on Twitter that it's fake news and suggesting Trump's army of consultants was anxious about DeSantis' debate success. Trump, using the moniker Ron DeSanctimonious for DeSantis propaganda, propagated the notion that rumors are strong in political circles about DeSantis' potential dropping out of the race to vie for Senate Rick Scott's Senate seat, despite DeSantis' recent polling setbacks. An Emerson poll post-debate unveiled a 50% support rate for Trump among GOP voters, a 6% dip from previous poll, whereas DeSantis gained 2 points, railing Trump at 50% to 12. And then DeSantis super PAC's urgent plea to donors. We need $50 million. This is a New York Times story. Ron DeSantis super PAC, never back down, led by strategist Jeff Rowe, urgently seeks $50 million from donors ahead of the second GOP debate on September 27. We need to do this now. We're making a move now. The day after Labor Day, we're launching, and we need your help to stay up and go hard. The rest of the way, we need $50 million. Rowe emphasizes the need for $5 million monthly to sustain Iowa operations, separate from rivals, and beat Donald J. Trump in the next 60 days. We need to beat Trump in the next 60 days, and separate from all his other rivals, we need $5 million. Okay, same thing said twice. Okay, go ahead, Tom. Thoughts on this?
So let me split this for you. When you hear that the super PACs are behind in their support, that means you're losing your big donors. Because the way the game is played, you go out and create these super PACs, because super PACs are unlimited. If you wanted to give anything now as a citizen, you can only give $3,300 as an individual. Your wife could also give $3,300. Your children could even on their own give $3,300, but that's it. Beyond that, you have to give money into the super PACs, and the super PACs go to the billionaires. And we've heard the stories about this billionaires with Trump, these two billionaires are with DeSantis. And for them to be going out and saying we need $5 million a month to sustain Iowa, and we need $50 million right now, is an incredibly bad sign, because the super PAC money is usually locked in early. You have who your supporters going to be. We've heard heard Larry Ellison looking to get behind one of them. You've heard the list. This is not good. With this leak, the camp does not want this leak to come out. Citizens are giving, up to $3,300, usually $25, $30, $50, something like that. This is a really bad sign for the campaign, which means that the super PACs are losing the support of the big donors. And the big donors, after the debate and looking at the polls, are saying, maybe I'm going to hold the big money back because maybe this isn't the guy that's going to challenge.
Wow. Wow. Interesting.
That's my conclusion here. By the way, it's a lot of people's conclusions. It's like, if you were behind him and just putting money in the super PAC, let me ask you, Pat. If you were in super PAC, and we won't say DeSantis, we'll just say it was a candidate, and you're looking at this kind of, hey, the debate did not give him a 10-point pop, and he's suffering an erosion in certain groups. What does that make you think? Hey, I've been to the party, I've given some, but I'm not going to chase it. I'm going to wait for you to see if you can really go get Iowa. Yeah. And he's saying, I need $5 million a month between now and February to get Iowa.
If you follow the trends and the stats and the polls, earlier this year, they were neck and neck. I constantly say this. It's like they were neck and neck, and due to failed marketing
and arrests and arrests and indictments,
that too, it's turned into a blowout. So, it's typical Trump fashion. I hear he's dropping out of the race. I hear he's going to be a senator. There may or may not be any truth to that whatsoever, but believe me, Trump will pounce on the opportunity to market that story. But what do you expect DeSantis's people to do? We've met his spokesperson, Brian Griffin, not the dog from Family Guy, his spokesperson. He's going to hold the fort and say, no, we're not dropping out of the race. But look, at some point, the writing's going to be on the wall. You were neck and neck, and now our guy, Vivek, is passing you up. You were neck and neck, and now it's all about Vivek. There you go.
Neck and neck now, Vivek.
So, and I think to kind of give a bigger picture to this, as more of the stats show and the polls show, as more and more indictments come down the pike, it's just codifying his firm grip on the Republican Party. The biggest challenge Trump's going to have is pivoting in the general election. We get it. He's got the Republican nomination on lock. His closest opponents, DeSantis and Ramaswamy, are nowhere to be found, especially in the polls.
So you're saying that what was it, Pat? We talked about it yesterday, that the independent, Tom, that vote in the middle that you were talking about, and like the African-American support is shifting towards Trump. I forgot that it went down from, it's not just, all I'm seeing is people like, we're tired of, the government, doing this and doing that, and the support is shifting.
Well, watch this here from Axios.
Yep.
Okay, Trump world sees Haley surging towards DeSantis. And according to this poll in Iowa, Fabrizio poll depicted Trump leading with 44%, DeSantis at 18%, Haley at 10%. Whoa. And then as Ramaswamy and Tim Scott tied at 7% in New Hampshire, Trump led with 48%, DeSantis 11%, Haley and Ramaswamy at 9%. Again, that's 2%. And Scott tied with former New Jersey Governor Christie at 5%. So they keep talking about this, whether, he's getting closer or not. And this is leading to the biggest question. Trump supporters pressure him to debate DeSantis. This is a Newsweek article. A survey conducted between August 26 and 29 showed that while 61% of all GOP voters and 83% of Trump supporters approved of his decision to skip the first debate, 57 of them now overall believe Trump should take part in a second debate scheduled on September 27th, I believe, at the Ronald Reagan Library in Simi Valley. Do you think Trump should show to the second debate, Tom?
Hell no.
Still saying no.
Hell no. Let these two JV guys battle it out. There's no
and what's this debate?
There's no reason.
And what's this? So Pat, this debate is how many people on stage?
Whoever's still in the race. Whoever hasn't dropped out by
no.
Probably 8 people.
I think the rules are going to drop the two governors.
Yeah, for sure.
No way. I'm surprised.
Asa Hutchinson and my guy
Doug Burgum.
Yeah. Man, that was my guy, Burgum.
That's all I remember. The guy that sprained his ankle playing basketball with his age.
I actually like those ideas.
They're going to drop. And then also it looks like Tim Scott may be on the edge of qualifying. And
loser.
But he may not decide to drop, but he may not be able to be on the stage. And so that's.
I just want to see Trump, Pence, Christie, DeSantis, Vivek, Nikki Haley. Everyone else get out of there.
I think Trump, because Pat, when we were there, we're like in that big, It's like an arena, Adam. I just saw this big GOP thing in the middle. I just wish Trump would have just descended like, I'm here, and just fireworks, and then not debate, just leave, like make an entrance and then leave. And here's my question, though. Does the Democratic Party not debate at all? Are they not?
They have
no
plans to have debates.
Why is that?
Because it's called
a
the
coronation
uncontested.
for Weekend at Bernie's.
Correct. It's called an uncontested primary.
Oh, so nobody gets to even hear.
But here's the thing: if like right now, if you look at the store, so Tom, you think Trump should show up second one or no?
No, I don't think he should show up. Because only thing that happens if he shows up is he gets picked on. I think he should let the crowd continually to hit themselves, because it is a fact. Everybody was screaming, well, Trump lost 6 points in Iowa. True, but Haley took apparently 4 of her points demonstrably were taken from DeSantis supporters that moved over because they saw she made a strong case. Yeah. I think he lets that continue to shake out. And I think in the DeSantis campaign, I think the writing is on the wall, but with your back up against the wall, you can't see the writing. And I think that's where Ron DeSantis
By the way, just refresh my memory. In 2020, did Trump do any debates against any Republican contenders? I don't think so. I don't think Obama did it. I don't think it's very common for incumbent presidents.
You're right.
Debate.
It's not. The only thing that's different is the following, and I'll tell you what it is. There's this guy named Gavin Newsom. I don't know if you know him or not. His
I saw the movie he started.
His shift on energy is a sign he's running for something. Washington Times. This is a September 3rd story. So Governor Newsom is strongly signaling a presidential run likely in 2024. By 2020, he positioned himself as a more capable alternative to the current Democratic ticket. Newsom's shift away from the traditional environmental stances is evident as he prioritizes ensuring consistent electricity supply and avoiding surging energy costs. Notably, he is advocating for increased natural gas storage at the Aliso Canyon facility, despite its history of a major methane leak in 2015. This move aligns with his focus on practical energy solutions over rigid ideological purity. Newsom's strategic decisions, including expanding natural gas storage and keeping the Diablo Canyon nuclear plant operational, underscore his commitment to maintaining energy reliability and affordability for citizens. Tom.
So what he's doing here is Gavin Newsom is still all about green energy. But right now, the green energy is dollars and making it cost less for Californians. That's his green energy program. So Aliso Canyon has needed to be retrofit for a while, and he wants to store gas there. So if there's a shortage over the winter, and California doesn't have winters, but they do have shortage points. And so he also doesn't want Diablo Canyon to turn down its megawatt output. And so what he's saying is, yeah, look, I can't have the people in California have their price for energy go up because we have a shortage of energy. We're not going to have cold winters, so we don't have heating oil. But you know what? I'm going to back off this whole green thing, and I'm going to quietly do things so that we have energy storage in California for the benefit of the people, and it's also anti-inflationary. Now, I happen to think that as a governor, he's putting the needs of the people first and trying to get them less expensive energy. But it kind of flies in the face of going arm in arm with the green energy mob in Washington. So it's a bit two-faced, but it's actually going to be good for Californians that want to have a little less inflation on their energy over the next 9 months. But his motive is different.
I think you knocked the energy part out of the park. I think he's just sort of waiting in the wings as an insurance plan. God forbid Biden is not able to make it, and that's a very substantive possibility.
Make it in what sense, though? You mean like just
meaning
heels over or falls on another flight of stairs?
Correct.
Oh, you really believe that? Like he might not make it till next year?
You want to bet that Joe Biden finishes his term?
Finishes
his term.
I think
he's the president right now. How much you want to bet he finishes his term?
Another $500.
You have a deal.
You think he's gonna die or something?
So let me flip it over,
no.
Vinny.
Do you understand what it means to finish your term? He means he's gonna finish his term as president. He's not gonna die.
Oh, you mean go another 4?
No. Do you understand what he's the president now, Vinny?
You're saying 4? Yeah.
He has 1 more year left.
Yeah, he's gonna finish it.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm betting.
You guys are
buddy.
saying the same thing. You guys are saying the same thing.
Stupid, Adam.
What do you mean? So you're not?
I'm saying he will. He's not gonna.
Okay, so this biographer says
both need a vault.
This biographer
promotes
says
brain function.
It wouldn't be total shock if Biden drops out of the 2024 race.
My concern is not Biden finishes this term. I have a bet. Byron Udell, Jake Udell's dad, if you're listening, we had a bet in 2020, one of the first PBD podcasts, whether Biden would finish his term or not. I'm like, yeah, he's going to finish his term.
Of course.
He might be old and sick and weekend at Bernie's vibes, but they'll prop his ass up and he'll finish his term. So I have a $1,000 bet with him. I think he'll finish.
Aaron, can we get Joe Biden's address and send him a case of Vault drinks, please?
Let's get it going. Now, the biggest concern should, in fact, be the second term. For all of those people out there saying that he has dementia and he's sick and he's falling downstairs, I hear you loud and clear. He's going to finish his term. The biggest concern
true, all of the above.
should be the second term, because the last thing we need is Kamala Harris becoming president of the United States. Hillary Clinton would flip flip her lid if Kamala Harris, or as Judge Joe Brown calls her, Kamala Harris, became the first female president of the United States.
But listen, even when
space,
even
space,
even
it's
when
so
Trump,
big,
even when Trump was in, like, I mean, you saw Pence. He spoke a lot, not too crazy, but like Kamala Harris, besides laughing, like, where is she? I haven't even seen her in like a month. Where is she, Tom? What are you doing?
She's been busy delivering funeral wreaths around the world, which is where they send most vice presidents when they don't want them to be in public.
Let me ask you guys a question. Back to the DeSantis
goodwill tour to Booger Glob, Yugoslavia or something.
What's the word on their debate? Because I think Newsom is just doing this to make himself relevant, stay in the fold, keep his name out there. God forbid Biden can't run 2024. You know,
first of all, it's a bad look for DeSantis to debate Newsom.
Tell me why.
Because
he elevates Newsom.
What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're running for president. He's not. Why are you debating a person that's not running for president? What are you doing? Like, what's your outcome? What are you doing? It's embarrassing. You shouldn't even do it. You shouldn't even agree to it.
Yeah.
It's actually pompous and arrogant to say, yeah, we're going to run because we feel we're the future anyways, and you guys are old. It's a little bit disrespectful on the way. Anyways, I don't want to get into that part. I did not like that positioning. While you're running for president, you do it. Now, if you do it while nobody's running for president, now let's just say they did it in 2022, the peak of COVID, 21. Great. I totally agree. Do it.
Yeah.
Not right now. You're 2 years too late. 2 years ago would have been a fantastic debate. The world would have watched. It would have been massive and would have helped DeSantis out, by the way, if they would have done it 2 years ago. But right now, there's no reason for them to do it. No,
by the way, can we just give a quick shout out to our good old friend Mitch McConnell? Good to see that he's back functioning. And not a I
don't know what is going on.
Frozen? Like, what is going on with that guy, Vin?
I don't know. I don't, because this is the second time, Pat. It's like the handlers that are around him. It's like what why you just can't give up that power, right? Because who's
how do you not know he's not meditating? How do you not know he's not praying? Why do you undermine such a experienced, wise man? Maybe the entire time he's praying for every person that's representing their news station there.
I think he's a living example of a Zoom call with bad bandwidth.
Horrible.
I think today I'm going to post a sketch on Valuetainment Comedy of pause it right there of what he's looking at. It'll be a little surprise to you, but listen. That look, and then he's looking up to
he's
here, like
praying.
God.
Heavenly Father, I'd like to pray for President
God
Biden.
Is like this. God is like, you're coming.
It's like a Zoom call with bandwidth problems.
No, not that one, but
did he just freeze? Are you there?
Yes. Yeah. I know we're poking fun of Mitch McConnell.
I'm not making fun.
No, I am.
Sad.
We all are. It's sad, but this is a guy. Literally 4 people away from the presidency. He's a Senate minority leader. He was the majority leader for years. By the way, if you look at the stats and the polls, least favorable politician, least favorable senator. So the people of Kentucky, shout out to the Kentucky Wildcats. You guys know a lot of college players that are one and done. Yeah. That's like the best college basketball school, one and done. This guy should be one and done years ago. Time to get him out.
Who would take his spot, Pat? Who takes his spot?
Adam sounds to be, he's pretty interested in wanting to do something like that. But anyways, gang, it's been great being with you guys. Rob, what else we got this week podcast-wise?
We're back Thursday.
We're back Thursday. Okay, sounds good. We will be back Thursday. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.